From Psalm 145 as we begin today. We give God the first word today. The Lord is righteous in all his ways and kind in all his deeds. The Lord is near to all who call upon him, and he will also hear their cry. The Lord keeps all who love him. On behalf of Sunshine and Quốc and Sunshine's family, I want to welcome you this morning. We're gathered here today because we have the common connection of having Quốc in our lives. And we're better because of it. He meant something to each one of us and enriched our lives in his journey. Thank you for being here. This morning, we come together to do 4 things. We come to grieve together. We because we weren't ready for this. Quoc's life was too short. We wanted more. And we grieve that loss together today along with Sunshine. And we're here today to remember and to celebrate his life. We have so many wonderful memories of the rich and full and abundant life that Quốc lived. And we're here together. We're here as a community because that's what Scripture invites us to do. To come together and to encourage each other in the Lord at times of grief and loss. Community is important. Your presence today is important to Sunshine and to Quốc and Sunshine's family. So thank you for being here. And lastly, we come today to find hope. To remember today as we look at scriptures and familiar stories and listen to the memories we have of Quốc. We come today in the hope that his story isn't over. That we have a hope of the second part of it. And today, we will remind each other of that. So again, thank you for being here. Will you pray with me as we begin? Our gracious God, our Creator God, our God who created Quốc, our God who loved him immeasurably and who loves us. Thank you for being present with us today as we are here to grieve together, to celebrate Quoc's life together, to remember the gift that he was together. God, may your presence be very tangible in our midst. And may we today, as we keep our eyes on you, find comfort and peace in the midst of our questions and our emotions and maybe even our anger, our questions of why, our it's just too soon kinds of feelings that we have. God, we know you're big enough, your arms are big enough to handle all that. So we bring those raw emotions to you, knowing that you're here and that you are a God that weeps with us and journeys with us. Thank you for that, our precious God. We pray. Amen.
A warrior's open letter to death. Dear Death, I'd like to warn that I won't run like most. I will not flee, I will not hide. This is not a proud boast. It's not a threat or challenge, just a promise what's to come. When we are face to face, this warrior will not succumb to fear, to doubt, or regret, because for years I have now walked that path that so many have only dreamed and wished and talked. I know you wait until some are breaking down and quite old. No, regardless of my gray, I'll always be this bold. Come for me while I'm still strong, in muscle and in mind. Come for me before my ears go deaf and eyes go blind. And though the outcome's definite, I only have one goal. When I do battle with you, it's to exact a great toll. I do not doubt your victory, but I share one truth. If you come for me while I am still in my years of youth, when you are finished, you will have to stop and take a breath. You'll know it was a warrior that you just battled to death. See you somewhere down the road on that cold, lonely night. I'm not afraid, for I know it will be my last good fight.
Hi guys. I'll try to keep it together, but I can't promise anything. And I apologize ahead of time for the length. Kwok and I didn't start our relationship on especially friendly terms. We were a part of a growing circle of friends at Loma Academy, but we hadn't found anything to bond over, nor any reason to. He'd already formed a close group of friends by this point. When Kwok arrived at Loma Elementary in 3rd grade, he was fairly new to the country. He and his family were just starting to adjust to life in the United States. He had spent his first couple of years attending the mission school, but through the efforts of members of the Loma Vietnamese church, Kwok was able to attend Loma Academy the following year. It was here that he started to connect, and by 4th grade he had become close friends with several schoolmates, including Yoni, Greg, and Eric. They bonded over their growing love of video games and comic books. He joined Pathfinders with the boys, competing with the drill team as its youngest member, and testing the patience of Mrs. Young. We ran in different circles throughout elementary and junior high. By the time we were in high school, we were merely acquaintances, spending time around each other, but not really knowing each other. Our relationship at this point was built on rivalry. Kwok had this uncanny ability to bring out the competitive nature in people. He managed to draw this out in me. In sports, in card games, and in video games, when we faced off, it had gravity. I knew no fiercer competitor. One of Kwok's most prized possessions has always been his hair. We all knew it. I knew he was protective of it, and I spent the early part of our junior year threatening to mess with it. Kwok warned me that if I touched his hair, he would retaliate, which meant he would punch me. At this point in time, I knew little of his story. He had been through a lot of significant life experiences by this point. Through the right lens, the details of his story read like an origin story from one of the many comics he loved. I imagine at some point in his life he thought of this and took some pride in it. His origin starts like this. Born under the oppression of the communist regime in Vietnam, Kwok's parents, wanting a better life for their sons, decided to risk everything and flee their country. Their hope was to escape to another country where their sons would have the opportunity to flourish. They had been caught trying to escape once, and it seemed unlikely they would have a second chance. Circumstances provided that chance, and under the cover of darkness, with a small Kwok and his brothers Bao and Wong, they joined several other families on a boat and made their escape. They remained displaced for several years, living in an Indonesian refugee camp while seeking more permanent asylum in a country of opportunity. They finally negotiated residence in the United States, and with some assistance, completed their journey, settling in the West. It is here that Kwok began to fully realize his potential. He learned early on that he had exceptional speed and agility. He would later discover his special abilities to exploit flaws in systems, formulate unconventional strategies, and adapt to his opponents' patterns. He would continue to hone his skills and abilities in the coming years to take on and defeat adversaries on many fields. I didn't know what he had experienced up until this point. Before me, here on the quad of the academy, was simply a boy whose hair seemed to stand taller than him, and whose ego far outstretched his reach. And today was the day I would press my luck. Kwok gave no indication of the impending strike. His face bore no tells. Those of us who played against him knew this well. Kwok's poker face was unmatched. And as I learned that day, so were his speed and strength. Before I even knew what had happened, I was on my backside. He spouted off something like, "I told you, nobody touches my hair." Left me there to stew in my defeat for a few moments, and then offer his hand to help me up. Nobody else in the group was surprised by this confrontation. Kwok would not be disrespected and would not back down. I had no retort. I knew better. So I took my lump, then took his hand, and we continued on with our conversation. It was that punch that provided the catalyst for our friendship. In that moment, we had gained some understanding of each other and found a mutual respect. This was my first standout memory of Kwok. Everything grew from that interaction. As we spent more time with each other, I witnessed his speed firsthand as he competed and won during track events, and his agility as he gracefully spun and dodged during flag football games. We gathered at lunch and after school with many from our group for the next couple of years to play board games and card games in the history department. He surprised me with how bright he was. No subject seemed too difficult. He took the litany of honors courses and discovered a passion for drama. For those of us who spent any time with him, you knew he definitely had a flair for it. It was here, in drama, where he met Sunny. I'm saving the details of this, his most important relationship, until the end. He had started at La Sierra, and a year later, he transferred to Cal State San Bernardino. Kwok started working for a local retailer during college. It was here that he learned he had a knack for sales and customer service. He enjoyed the challenge and always managed to perfect whatever craft he was working on. He proved to be an asset to the company and was advanced into management. This would prove to be a trend in every company he worked for, which multiple supervisors have admitted and declared that he remains one of their best employees. At the time, Brian, Yoni, Robert, and Kwok formed a band named Northern Cross. This to many, particularly me, was hard to believe. Kwok had no musical experience and no musical inclination. In fact, few were as tone deaf as he was. But he wasn't going to let that stop him. Through focus and determination, he managed to gain enough skill to perform as the band's drummer. And for a couple of years, they played locally, moving on to play at several colleges and public venues, and eventually placed in a regional competition. I saw them perform many times, and it was fun to see him play. Kwok and Sunny both moved to Arizona in 2002. Sunny had moved into the house that would become the site of many great memories for us. It was at this time that Kwok and I became close, almost 10 years after that fateful punch. I am convinced it was simply because of my consistency that he and I grew as close as we did. Kwok had spent 2 weeks that summer traveling with Adam around Italy. It was a trip that he enjoyed immensely, and had created a special bond between him and Adam. Shortly after this, Kwok and Sunny began their schooling in Arizona. Kwok enrolled in Arizona State University to study chemistry, while Sunshine enrolled in Southwestern College of Naturopathic Medicine to study naturopathic medicine. While attending school, Kwok landed a job with Game Crazy. Rather, to be more specific, in a display of sheer will, Kwok persistently showed up at the store, essentially performing a routine sit-in, until the store manager buckled and gave him an interview. He, of course, got the job. This was the dream job for him. During these years, I would frequently visit. Kwok and Sunny really enjoyed sharing what they were learning. Kwok set out to introduce me to games and media he thought I would enjoy, in an attempt to both give us additional things to talk about, and to try beating me to it, just to continue a theme in our friendship. Kwok joined a group of us, including Sunny, Robert, and Sarah, in a multi-day backpacking trip into the Grand Canyon, to the remote Indian reservation of the Havasupai tribe. It was the first effort he had made to do any outdoor activity with Sunny. It was a big gesture for Sunny. It was during this trip that he grew to love hiking and camping, and in future years, he would participate in many more excursions. After Sarah and Robert got married in 2005, they moved to Arizona and lived with Sunny. This is what I have another standout memory of Kwok. When I arrived at the house, it was to the smells of cooking in progress. Kwok was over at Sunny's, hunched over the stove, waiting for my arrival. He ushered me into the kitchen, where he showed me what he was working on. He was creating an Asian dish that he had concocted. He was very proud of it and wanted to get my opinion on it. This was his response to a meal I had made for all of them during the previous visit. He was impressed with my cooking skills and wanted to prove that he could do it too. He had created a well-executed dish that got many praises from all of us. But beyond this, he had also decided that he wanted to play host to me. In the midst of cooking, he managed to show me several things he had gone out and purchased especially for me, knowing they were my favorites. It was a great visit, and a markedly different Kwok. He and Sunny both graduated from their respective programs. Kwok began working at the Huntington Learning Center as a tutor. Sunny started her practice as a naturopathic physician. Soon after, Sunny started working for Grand Canyon University, whom she would continue to be employed with for a number of years. Kwok and Sunny would visit her extended family, and Kwok could find that he was well-liked and accepted by them. In one of the years following, they began to notice a growth on Kwok's neck. By January of 2010, they had a diagnosis. Kwok was in late stages of cancer. At this time, I was traveling half a world away, learning about his serious illness from afar, like so many others. Kwok opted for an aggressive naturopathic treatment. After the treatment was completed, Kwok and Sunny decided to move back to California to be closer to family. It would be reasonable to assume that at this time in Kwok's life, he would decide to retreat and focus solely on the treatment of his illness. But that wasn't the case. Kwok chose to live life with as much normalcy as he was afforded. He wasn't going to let the illness take away the life that he had established before the diagnosis. When they moved to California, he and I went to work on improving the house. He tackled his honey-do list with vigor. Adam and Katie had just had Roman, so Kwok was now an uncle, and minutes away from his new nephew. There was a medical scare that December, so he opted next for an aggressive allopathic treatment combining chemotherapy, radiation, and proton therapy. Sunny's parents, Bucky and Carol, were close by and able to offer support. Kwok started to show improvement. In the midst of this, Kwok and Sunny started to visit with his family, having regular dinners with them. The Betchers began to visit with Kwok and Sunny. Kwok really liked these visits. He connected with both of the girls, Hosanna and Selah, interacting with them, finding commonalities, and sharing his passions with them. When Kwok stabilized, he found a new lease on life, participating in both the turkey run and the more challenging mud run. He was proud of both of these. During the mud run, Sunny witnessed the Kwok that harkened back to high school, where he tackled each obstacle with ease and agility. In the summer of 2013, many of Kwok and Sunny's friends visited to celebrate Sunny's birthday. This is another one of the stand-up memories I have of Kwok. Among his friends and family, Kwok seemed to thrive, resembling his younger self. In that day, I watched them play cornhole. Even though he had never played it, he dominated at it. And how to talk smack. He set up the video game console so that the kids could play games, which he gladly showed them how to operate. And that evening, he sat at the table, joining his friends to play board games once again. I am thankful for that day. Over the next year, I got to visit with Kwok a few more times. Seeing him play with his nephews and interacting with the Betcher girls, I had a glimpse. It was a glimpse into what Kwok could have been. They brought him so much joy. But it was also a chance to reflect on who Kwok had become. The man who sat before me, whose spirit should have been broken, who would have retreated, persevered. He defied the odds he was given. He chose to build relationships and grow as an individual. He lived life with dignity and wonder until the end. This was a man I greatly admired. Looking back at our relationship, I have 3 distinct images of Kwok in my mind that I believe represent him over the course of his life. The first is of a 16-year-old Kwok, a sleekly built boy whose hair defied gravity. He is stoic, giving no hints of the experience of his childhood or insight into his emotional state. He is a physical being who's known for his speed and agility. He is slow to let people in. He is aggressive and proud. He may occasionally punch people to solve his problems. The second is of a 25-year-old Kwok, a young man with a glint in his eye and hair that sits right above his ears. He is inquisitive and excitable, dramatic and adventurous. He is a mental being who's known as the master of his crafts. He is still learning to let people in. He is eager and even more quick-witted, and he is still proud. He has become more prone to hug, sometimes begrudgingly. The third is of a 32-year-old Kwok, an adult whose face has grown fuller and hair that flows long down his back. He is quicker to smile, slower to react, and more comfortable in sharing. He is a spiritual being who's known for wisdom and mentorship. He has learned to let people in. He is more patient and generous, and he is still slightly proud. He has not yet been affected by the cancer growing within. I share these images because I think it is important to see them side by side. It is admittedly exaggerated, but you do begin to see a progression in his life from someone who is fiercely independent to someone who found deep value in relationships. That brings me to what I consider to be the most significant part of Kwok's life. The part that he was most proud of, and the part that I have, so far, left out. I would suggest that this part of Kwok's life is the direct cause of the softening of his heart, and the reason he learned to experience more joy in life. In this I know that Kwok and I would be in complete agreement. This part is, of course, Sunny, who from high school on was the love of his life. You see, my story with Kwok runs parallel to the story of Kwok and Sunny. When you rewind back to the day when Kwok punched me, at the same time, Kwok was beginning to spend a fair amount of time with and getting to know Sunny while participating in drama that junior year. In an interesting twist, for that year's Sadie Hawkins banquet, Sarah asked Kwok and Sunny asked Robert. It is at this banquet that Kwok first took notice of Sunny and became more interested in something more than friendship. One afternoon in March, after school, Robert and Kwok were having a typical conversation, which Kwok interrupted to ask Robert if he was going to pursue a relationship with Sunny. Robert had noticed Kwok's recent interest in Sunny and returned with a quick, "No, I'm not. But you should definitely pursue her if you're interested." That was all Kwok needed. A week later, on March 18, Kwok asked Sunny out. 3 days later, during a break from one of their scenes in drama, they shared their first kiss. For the next few years, the relationship grew. They suffered a lot of the same problems most young couples do, and a few most don't. For some reason, they trusted me to have conversations with them about troubles they were experiencing in their relationship. I got to know their relationship well. They approached their issues with maturity beyond their years, and it was obvious to me that they loved each other very much. This was a side of Kwok I had never expected to see. You could say it was another painless punch. By the time Kwok and Sunny moved to Arizona, whatever reservation that existed in the relationship were gone. It was evident that they intended to make it last, and in February of 2006, Kwok made plans to propose to Sunny. Commemorating the anniversary of the day Kwok first Sunny out, on March 18, an uncharacteristically nervous Kwok bent down on one knee, within the vibrant, awe-inspiring walls of Antelope Canyon, and asked Sunny to marry him. And you bet she said yes. It was a magical weekend, only to be one-upped by the weekend 7 months later, during which Kwok and Sunny exchanged their vows. This weekend, Kwok was very much at ease, doing his best to hide how excited he was. It was a beautiful day in a garden in Palm Springs, full of community and celebration. Even Yoni was able to make it. A year after the wedding, Kwok's mom sent the two of them to Vietnam. This offered Sunny the unique opportunity to get a glimpse into Kwok's history. Kwok and Sunny would spend the next several years in Arizona, building a home together. When Kwok would eventually receive his diagnosis, Sunny stood strong. She supported him in his decisions. As he grew sicker, she drew family in. When it came time to carry Kwok when he could no longer carry himself, she did. Through all of my memories of Kwok, Sunny was there. From when I became friends with him until when he passed, she was the steadfast and supportive presence in his life, which had an immeasurable impact on him. Just the same, he was a strong and devoted presence in her life. Their partnership made them better people. The building of this relationship and the work he put into sustaining it and growing it would be the greatest accomplishment of his life. In the end, Kwok knew that he could not fend off his illness anymore. Accepting this, he gained back some power against the adversary he had fought for so many years. He chose when and how he would leave us. So on July 13, in the quiet of the afternoon, Kwok slipped away in the arms of his love. Kwok was not a big fan of goodbyes. If we were to ask him what he would want from us today, I think he would ask that we take away these memories and the countless others that we have shared with him. In remembering him, we would allow him to live on. And in that life, like the coming one, he would be whole again. There would be no need for goodbye. If I am fortunate enough to meet the one who I am excited about building a relationship with, I will remember Kwok and Sunny. I will remember his certainty and his pursuit of Sunny. I will fondly remember their partnership. It was truly one of the greatest I have known. I will use it as an example of what love should look like, even in the face of the greatest adversities. And if I am blessed enough to have children, I will one day sit down with them when they are old enough and began to recount the wonderful memories I had growing up with their fearless Uncle Kwok, who realized his full potential.
I think this morning I have very few words that can even encompass the emotions that we all feel. But I think Kwok would have wanted us to celebrate. And we've already heard a lot about what he did. And I just want to say a little bit about who he was. The characteristics that come to mind when we think about him. If you think of all the stories that Gabe presented, he was likable. Even when you get punched in the chest by him, you still like him when he picks you up afterwards. He was very competitive, but he was fiercely loyal. He was tough, he was strong, he was determined. And when he wanted to be, he was one of the most patient people I've met. And none of us will ever forget. I know the concern mentioned by some is what if we all forget? I can tell by the crowd here today that no one will ever forget. And no one will want to forget. And while we each are grieving, and each of us are sad, and there are no ways to explain what has happened, we know that we do have the hope of seeing him again in heaven. And that's what we continue to celebrate his life and look forward to.
When Sunshine asked me if I would share some stories, I said, what kind of stories? I said, most of, especially our favorite ones. I said, most of them were from Kwok's silliness or his mischievousness. And she said that's what she wanted. So we are celebrating his life. And so I'll share with you our favorites. Kwok was full of life. And my whole family was so privileged and so fortunate that he was a precious part of our lives. And it was never a dull moment. So how do you begin? my earliest recollection of Quốc was when he was in my 6th grade class in 1988-89. And from the very beginning, I found out that he was very energetic, very lively. He laughed a lot, and the one thing he did was talk nonstop with everyone around him. And so I'm like, okay, how am I going to help him find time to get some of his work done at school instead of taking it home and having a lot of homework? So one of the things I tried was putting him next to me sometimes so that he could get his work done while it was class time and work time. And the whole class would be working quietly, and I would just hear this murmur. It's like just someone constantly talking. And I looked, and there was Quốc talking to himself. And I couldn't believe that he could literally talk to himself the whole time. So it didn't matter where I put him, he would talk. And one of our visits that we had when he came back here was wonderful. That Sunshine and Quốc moved back because we were able to visit when we tried our best. The whole family was split up, but whenever we could get together and we were in homeland, we stopped. And he reminded me that the place he ended up at, because I just couldn't stand the talking, was on the very farthest corner of the room by the boys' bathroom. And he said to that day he remembered that putrid smell and that the boys did not know how to keep their bathrooms clean. So we just laughed. We laughed so much. Well, that school year went by so fast, and I knew I would miss Quốc. But I want to thank Mr. and Mrs. Young. They put all 3 of their sons in Pathfinders. And because of that, I was able to have them pass their elementary years. And I want to thank you for allowing them to be a part of our lives. It's just so precious. So Quốc joined the University Church Pathfinder Club, and he was a member of its precision drill team. And when he first started marching, it was just like so stiff. I don't know if it's the Asian culture where we have to be proper and, you know, we have to behave appropriately, but he had a hard time marching and loosening himself up. But with people like Yoni and Kosi, who could do all kinds of stuff with both hands and both feet and not even have them at the same rhythm, he quickly learned that after a few years of being in the drill team, he was able to do stomping and kung fu stances while marching down the parade route at the community parade. So it was really great. He joined us on all the events like camporees and kite day, teen sleepovers. Those were joyful. They would stay up all night playing cards. Anyway, and the river trip. So my husband, Sam, one of his favorite memories of the river trip was when Quốc, Yoni, and Jeremy came, and they were, like in today's words, chick magnets. All these girls, especially from the Kela Mesa Club, the blonde ones, started hanging around our club. And we noticed that the guys in that club were not too happy about that. But again, never a dull moment. In 1992, Sam and I were expecting our first child. And because we didn't know what it was, we wanted to be surprised. And I kept calling it a kid, and this lady at the conference office was very upset with me. We named it Peanut, so I wouldn't call it a kid. So anyway, I don't know how many of you took general psychology from Dr. Vern Andrus, but I did. And I walked away from that class with one thing on parenting. And he really impressed upon me that when we had our first child, that we were not to paint the bedroom in pastel colors because babies cannot see pastel. And it needed to be bright red, bright blue, green, and yellow, okay? And not just paint it like nicely. He told us to get a sponge and to like throw it on the wall. It's like it would be abstract. Therefore, the babies, first of all, could see it because now it's a bright color, and then they would form in their imaginations the birds and the elephants and the bears and the blobs of paint. So, of course, who to get for that job? Sam and I are like, Quack and his friends. And so, I don't know. I was trying to remember everybody that was there. I know it was Eric and Zelma and Yoni. I don't remember if Jeremy was there, but we spent one morning and we got sea sponges because we decided we didn't want the smooth. We wanted it even a little bit more, have some texture. And they had such a great time. I mean, they were hurling those sponges like on the ceiling and on the walls everywhere. I mean, by lunch it looked great. And so we thought, okay, time for lunch. Let's take a break. And so, unbeknownst to us, Quack decided to hang in the room a little bit longer to add his own work of art to it. So after lunch, when we opened the door, we walked in and we went, and we all we're like, what happened? And here he has this quackish giggle. I'm sure all of you could hear it. He's in the background and he knows he's done something wrong. And he had taken the blue sponge and about at this level on the wall, he had taken it and did a big blue zigzag across all the walls. And all we could do was yell, which I don't know if all of you did, but in Pathfinders we would go, Quack, a lot. So that was Quack and that bedroom, and it was that way until we moved out of the house. And unfortunately the wall is now white, so I can't go back and take a picture of it, and I couldn't find any pictures. So anyway, and the boys are very creative, so thank you, Quack, and everyone who helped paint that room. In 2000, after we moved into our new house, we decided to have a drill team reunion and just emailed as many of the drill team members that we had had throughout the years. And amazingly, Quack and Yoni showed up 30 minutes early. I mean, that was unheard of. And so I was really happy because the one thing I forgot was the ice. And so I quickly gave them some cash. I'm like, Yoni, Quack, please go to Stater Brothers. I mean, it's only 3 miles away, right? Go to Stater Brothers and get some ice and come back right away because you have time. So everybody started coming in, and an hour later, we're all like, okay, I know Quack's supposed to be, and Yoni, they're supposed to be back. I mean, how long does it take to go to Staters and get ice? And so we decided, well, everybody just go ahead, let's start going around the room and reintroducing or introducing yourselves and let everybody know what you're up to. And just as the last person was done talking about themselves, we saw Yoni and Quack walking up the porch. And so I opened up the door. And I mean, they had soda cups. And I think they were from Burger King. And I'm like, Quack, Yoni, where's the ice? And the two of them, they gave each other the look, which I'm sure many of you saw. And they're like, that's what we were supposed to get. And I'm just like, Quack, Yoni, I cannot believe you guys. We've been waiting all this time for you to get ice. And I'm like, where's the cash? And they're looking at me and they're like, they don't even remember what they did. I'm sure it went into the soda. Anyway, well, they didn't know what we had done before. So I said, well, guess what? I said, Quack, Yoni, you are just in time because we've been going around and doing introductions, and now the last person just did it, and it's your turn, and you're to give an introduction of yourself, let everybody know what you're doing, and you have to come up with a salute, and you've got to show us your salute. And they're like, what? Everybody here came up with a salute? They're like, wait, where's Eric? And they went up to Eric, not Eric. Eric doesn't lie. They said, Eric, you don't lie. Okay, tell us. Eric, did everybody have to give a salute? I mean, is that what we have to do? And Eric looked both of them straight in the eyes, and he's like, yes, you need to give a salute. And they're like, oh, Eric doesn't lie. Okay, let's go and figure it out. And so they went into the family room, and when they came back in, I mean, Yoni, of course, comes up with his real crisp, syncopated salute. It's Yoni. Kwok, I need to find the videotape of this. Of course, I need the recorder to play it because it's probably on one of the bigger ones. But he came in and he did some salute where he was flailing his arms up in the air while he was all over the place and turning around. And all we could do was laugh because they didn't realize nobody else gave a salute, only them. So we got them back. Anyway, despite all the silly times with Kwok, I especially have a deep appreciation for how he related to our boys. We have 4 boys. And when I asked the boys, okay, what's your favorite story? Of course, they have some that they said, okay, one of them is how they remember how fast Kwok could run. And Gabe talked about how he's very competitive. Well, one time on one of our road trips, we were able to stop in Phoenix to visit Kwok. And Stephen raced Kwok in the parking lot, and he was so thrilled he had won until Sammy told him, well, he let you win. So they were remembering that, and Kwok recently shared with them, because they wanted to know, okay, how did you become such a fast runner? And so he shared with them what he did. And as a child in front of Loma Linda Academy, he would be at the stoplight there on Anderson Street, and when he would be there and waiting for the light to turn green, and he would look at the car next to him, and when that light turned green, he literally would race the car down Anderson Street, and that's how he got fast. He said he got to be where he would just try to get ahead of that car, and so that's how he became so fast. As Gabe mentioned, while Kwok was in Phoenix, he managed a Game Crazy store. And because he got to test every single game on the market, he ended up being our boys' lifeline to video games. I had all these standards, and though he had been so mischievous all his life, he took the task and responsibility very seriously, and considered my standards for all the video games. So whenever the boys wanted a game, I'd be like, well, does it have this and this? And then they'd be like, well, I'm like, you know what? Call Kwok. And thanks to Sunshine, she was actually our lifeline to Kwok, because Kwok was really great about answering his phone calls. And so sometimes I'm like, Sunshine, is Kwok okay? He's answering nothing, But she would get him in touch, and he would listen, and he'd say, well, nah, that one probably shouldn't. Maybe you should try this game. And so it was just so comforting to know I know nothing about video games. They give me stomach aches. So anyway, that I had someone I could really rely on to guide my boys. I used to tease Kwok and his friends that I didn't need children because I had them. Or seeing how naughty he would be would make me hope that if I did have children, Jesus would come back before they became teenagers. Reflecting on all I have experienced with Kwok, I realize that in some way, he and his friends contributed some to prepare me and mold me in the way I relate with my sons. Though my sons think I'm probably one of the craziest mothers in the world, they don't realize that having to put up with Kwok's antics most likely calmed me down a bit. I think it's hard, they can't imagine that I am calm, but they don't realize it could have been a lot worse. Like Kwok loved to race when he was young, Kwok's life was a race to shine his light everywhere he went. He touched everyone he met. It seems that a light has gone out, but it actually burns in our hearts and our memories. It is almost as though Kwok has paid it forward to us. And now it is our turn to pay it forward to all we meet. With all that Kwok and Sunshine have gone through, their commitment to each other, and their complete trust and faith in God, they are a testament to us. Though I know we all miss Kwok very much and are so sad that he is gone. For him, it is just a blink. He has finished running his race here on earth. He ran it hard, with Sunshine as his coach. And now he gets to rest. The next moment he will know will be Jesus coming to restore his body back to health and to bring him home. Each of us here are able to claim God's promise too. Let us all be ready to join Kwok on the race to heaven, where we will be together to live forever and ever.
I thought I better give it a shot and see if I can hold it together. Kwok is like a brother to me. And in no small way because of this family that really co-opted me as the fourth son many years ago. I think Kwok and I became close, or we're drawn to each other because we're so fundamentally different, yet we have so many of the same interests. But Kwok was as gregarious and outgoing and seemingly extroverted that he was really an intensely private person, and a person who was very, very difficult to read. And I think we were polar opposites, and there's some kind of an appreciation that grew when we started to spend time together. Some of my earliest memories of Kwok, involve those special moments when, in very rare moments when the curtain kind of got pulled back. And I remember as kids, for some reason, we were talking about God, and I'd asked Kwok, if he'd ever prayed and accepted Christ, and he said that he hadn't. And we went into a little bathroom there at the university church, and we just knelt down, the two of us, and we prayed together. A very rare moment where Kwok opened up and showed his vulnerability. But these moments became very special to us. There's very few memories that I have growing up that didn't have Kwok in them, from Pathfinders especially, to everything else we did at school. But as people have said, this was an intensely loyal individual. I remember we used to pride ourselves as a club. We thought we were the best, and we went to a camporee, which is a meeting of all of the different Pathfinder clubs in the area. And there was some kind of a talent competition one night, and so my sister and I, we got up and we did the Loma Linda rap, and we rapped about Loma Linda, and we showed some pride for the club. And many years later, he didn't tell me at the time, but as we recounted that story, there was a kid that was making fun of the club, making fun of the performance that we did. And so they watched this kid, and as he went on into one of the porta potties, Shaq and Kwok and some of the boys ran up to the porta potty, and they shook this thing, and they shook it, and Kwok said he could hear him. Kwok could tease you, but he would never allow somebody else from the outside to come tease you. And that went for his friends, it went for his family. I remember one time we all went up to the snow, and I can't remember who started first, but somebody tackled me face down in a pile of snow. So I got up, look who it was, and I started running after him. Before I knew it, the second brother had tackled me down in the snow. And now I got up and there's two, and I started running. Before I knew it, the third brother had jumped on me. So the dynamic in the family was one of strength and of loyalty and of character in such a quiet way. Many times, as kids, we don't appreciate the way that our parents work to support us and what they sacrifice to give us. And many nights, I'd be a little too late at Quok's house, and I have a little bit of a louder laugh than some of us. And sure enough, every now and again it would come out, and his parents had to sleep. I think his father was working and nights at the time, and so sometimes we'd hear "What?" And he's like, "Oh, come on, Yoni," and he'd go back and scolded, and but still, even that they bore us. They were long suffering to us. They scolded us, but they didn't chase me away. And this is the relationship that I grew to appreciate with Quok. And this is who, the man that I saw him develop into. Throughout his whole ordeal, I never saw Quok once stop to cry for himself or to feel sorry for himself. The only time I've ever seen Quok cry was when he was first hospitalized, and I went in to see him, and after a while Sunshine left the room, and it was one of those rare moments that the curtain got pulled back in, and I held his hand and he started to cry, and this was, I'd never seen him emotional like that on that level. And the only thing that he ever cried about was the idea that he would be leaving Sunny, and he did not want to leave Sunny alone. This is the character I think that we've all been drawn to, we've all come to love and appreciate and become inspired by. And I know that we're on the spot already, but what a special opportunity to be involved in such a remarkable way.
When peace like a river attendeth my way, when sorrows like sea billows roll, whatever my lot, thou hast taught me to say, it is well, it is well with my soul. It is well with my soul. It is well, it is well with my soul. My sin, oh, the joy of this glorious thought. My sin, not in part, but the whole, is nailed to the cross, and I bear it no more. Praise the Lord, praise the Lord. It is well with my soul. It is well. It is well with my soul. And Lord, haste the day when my face shall be sight. The clouds be rolled back as a scroll. The trump shall be sound, and the Lord shall descend. Even so, it is well with my soul. It is well. It is well with my soul. With my soul. It is well. It is well with my soul. It is well.
Beautiful. Adam said just a few words, Sandy. So I know you've been standing a long time already, and I do, though, want to just talk for a few moments about the hope that we have at this place, at this time. You probably can remember, especially if you're older like me, taking one of those tests in school that was timed. And you're partway through the test feeling really good about it. I know this, I'm getting this. And the teacher says, put your pencil down, your time is up. And you don't want to put it down. That's kind of how I think I feel today. We weren't ready for Kwok to have to put his pencil down. Or to use an illustration probably closer to his heart, if he was playing a game that had a timeout. And he has all kinds of strategy in his head and all the things he wants to do to win it. And the time is up. And we're not ready. He wasn't ready. Kwok had a lot of living he still wanted to do, and we all had more memories we wanted to make with him. Have more time. Louise, I'm sure as you carried Kwok in your stomach, in your belly, as a mother, and as a family, that you had hopes and dreams for him. And so many of those he was able to accomplish and live out, but how you wanted more. Bucky and Carol, as Sonny's mom and dad, as you watched their relationship and as you journeyed with them on through marriage, and oh, how you had hopes and dreams for their little family and wanted more time, wanted more relationship. All of the extended family, all of us wanted more. And Sunshine, too soon. And we grieve that. They had so much that they wanted to continue to do, dreams and hopes and memories to make together. And Scripture shares a very familiar story with us. We look at it over and over and over again at times like this, of a life that was cut too short. It's in the book of John, John 11. Jesus heard from some very dear friends. He had journeyed with them. He had been with their home. And Mary and Martha sent a message. The brother that you love, Lazarus, is not doing well, Jesus. We don't think he's going to make it. Hurry here. They knew that Jesus was very capable of healing him. And Jesus lingered where he was and showed up 4 days too late for the funeral. And Mary and Martha met him, and they said in their anguish, Jesus, where were you? If you had been here, Lazarus would not have died. Why did you not come? And that's a question I think that we all have in our minds. When death interrupts our plans and our relationships and the pain and separation is there. But what Jesus did, he does for us today. He said to Mary and Martha, take me to where he is. I want to enter into this experience with you. I want to journey with you through this time. I want to be with you in your grief. And the Bible says that Jesus wept with them. He journeyed through the experience with them. He was right there with them. And we have that promise that Jesus is right here with us today. He raised Lazarus from the dead. But there was that time in between where we exist now of the promise of the resurrection, because Jesus said to them, I am the resurrection and the life. That time between the promise and the fulfillment of the promise is where we will live for a while with loss. But we have that promise that Jesus is entering into this experience with us and weeping with us and present with us. And how he loves you, sunshine. How we loved Quốc. You've heard so much about him already, and I had just an incredible privilege of getting to know this young man as a family friend. And especially as Sonny and Quốc invited me into the journey when he had the cancer. Able to spend many evenings with them at the hospital, at their home, praying with them. And, you know, Quốc, it's already been expressed, Quốc had kind of a sassy attitude sometimes. He has already been expressed as a competitive, playful person. But he was so easy to love because underneath all that, there was this calm, peaceful spirit where everything was going to be okay. And as I often had the chance to pray with Quốc, it became very evident to me that he had a very uncomplicated faith, a very simple faith. He trusted that God loved him, and he loved God, and everything was going to be okay. Quốc was loved by so many. His playful personality, children were so attracted to it. And has already been expressed, he loves Sunshine absolutely unconditionally. She could get by with anything. The rest of us couldn't, but Sunshine could. Because he loved her so deeply and so unconditionally. And it hurts. Death hurts. It is painful. But Jesus, as he continued to talk to his disciples in the book of John, in John 14, as he was talking about his own death that was coming, he said to them, do not let your hearts be troubled. Because I will die, but this is not the end of the story. I'm going to make a place for you so that you can always be with me and there will not be any more separation. And I can imagine, can't you, that as Jesus is preparing a place for Quốc, I kind of imagine that it will be full of maybe some flying dinosaurs that will give him a ride. And the biggest game room that you can imagine, beyond our imagination of time and space, where God can just play with Quốc for an eternity. And Jesus said, if I wasn't really going to do this, I wouldn't tell you. So we cling to that promise. We cling to that promise As Jesus has said, I am the resurrection and the life, and I'm going to prepare a place. I'm going to take you there forever. John the Revelator had a chance to see this place in vision. It's again a familiar text that we often turn to at a time like this, Revelation 21, where John had a glimpse of this new earth, this new heaven, where the Bible says there will be no more death, no more crying, no more tears, no more. But you remember what John wrote when he says, and I saw a new heaven and a new earth. I always, growing up, thought it was a bit odd. The first thing that John noticed in this new heaven and this new earth, you remember what that was? And there was no sea. That's the first thing that John says. I saw this new heaven and earth, and there was no sea. I never liked that growing up because I love the sea. I love the ocean. Until I had someone point out to me at one time, John wrote this from the island of Patmos, where he was isolated from everybody he loved, every relationship in his life, and the sea represented darkness and separation to him. And when he sees this new heaven and this new earth, he says, there's no sea, there's no separation in this new place. We won't ever have to do this again. Oh, how we long for that place, for that time. And as we live in the in-between of the promise and the fulfillment of the promise of the rest of Kwok's story for an eternity, we live with the hope that Jesus is journeying with us. And Sunshine, we're here to journey with you too. Everyone that has been standing here this past hour or so is here because they love you. And we're here for you. But today, we say, even so, come, Lord Jesus.
Shall we bow our heads? Father in heaven, thank you so much that we have been able to spend this time together in such a beautiful place of memory, and for all the memories that have been expressed, which have evoked memories of our own. We all have fond, fun memories of Kwok. His smile, his laughter, his mischievous, funny things that he did. I pray that you will be with Kwok's family as they move ahead with their lives and have to cope and have to learn how to get along with that. Especially be with Sunny. Dear Lord, as she faces life without Kwok, thank you for the ability to remember and all the good memories. As she passes through, as she begins this journey, this walk through the valley of the shadow of death, hold tightly to her. Give her strength, give her courage. Be with each of us as we leave this place. And as we do, Kwok, it's not goodbye. It's we'll see you later. Amen.
Again, on behalf of the family, we want to say thank you so much for being here. Sunshine particularly wanted me to thank a few people. So many of you have been present in this journey, and it's been a long journey. So many of you have come by the hospital, have written notes, have come to the house, have prayed, have texted, and been so supportive. And I know I've watched her parents through this journey. Carol, you created such an oasis for Kwok, and I know he was such a good friend of yours. Thank you. And her dad, Bucky, who provided so much and was there always. And Bonnie, as you entered the family in the midst of the fight and really wanted to continue to help and support yourself. Adam, and I was talking to Sunny yesterday, she just said, Adam's been a rock star. You as a brother have been there the whole time, done so much. Thank you, from Sunny. And Anne Marie, who's sitting here, cousin, anytime Sunny wanted you, you were here. You'd get on a plane and you'd come. Thank you for the journey that you've had with her. And Gabe and Yoni, Sunny wanted me to specifically thank you too as Kwok's dear friends who were there. Often just being present, being there. What a gift. Thank you. And Yoni, Sunny told me how you came and in the last days of his life just sat on the bed and sang to him, sang hymns to him. That meant so much. And so many of you did so much. So Sunny says thank you. And Sunny and the family want to continue to share memories and talk and invite you to come down to the Crosswalk Church, which is down, the address is in the program, down off of Redlands Boulevard, where there will be some food provided and a chance just to continue to talk and to share. So we invite you, please, to join us at the Crosswalk Church immediately. Again, thank you for coming. And may we leave with the hope of a risen Jesus in our hearts.
We do have a car down here blocking traffic.
There's a Lexus vehicle over here that we need to have moved. It's blocking the way. There's a Lexus over here. If we could have it moved, please, so that we can proceed.
He's always raised there. He's like, I'm here about yes, he's in heaven around. Con đó là vợ. Đây qua quá. That's the first time I heard the lion story. So were you It's better. That's like a man. It's overwhelming by now, and they call it. And the good, I remember going to university, I just had to learn first year. And all of it on campus, and I'm ready. Because always been this way. Ended up being but he doesn't start about Did you know Always loud. Now that they're all the way up to red. Let's go to red. Oh, not red. Okay.